Hari Om. Start with the prayer. Let's check it's okay there. The focus is okay, right? Manalu? Okay. We'll start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi 9th chapter, and this is about the meditation, and this is a meditation of Vedantic meditation in the sense that having understood Vedanta, having understood that Mahavakya by Vichara through a prolonged length of time under a competent teacher, listening to the teaching, and still not able to claim that I am Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is not able, one understand but not able to claim. So therefore, the reason for it is there are obstacles, some are unknown obstacles, and to get rid of that, we have to have a proper inquiry. Here, Vidyaranya says, there are based on the Vartika of Sureshwaracharya, who classified the obstacles as 3 types of obstacles that prevent one to claim that I am Brahmasmi. And the first part, the obstacles are related to the past, and second one is related to the present, and the third one is related to the future. And there are examples are given to illustrate the type of obstacles that are related to the past. It's only an example. There may be different types of obstacles, but here Sureshwaracharya gives an example based on the well-known in the scripture itself. One is that one is sitting on the treasure and still begging for wealth because he doesn't know that he is sitting on top of the wealth. Even if he knows also, he cannot claim that wealth because he does not have the proper tools to claim that one. So it's a peculiar problem where he is already having he is a possessor of the wealth, but yet he is not a possessor of the wealth. So I know that I am Brahmasmi, but I do not know that I am Brahmasmi. This is because of obstacle here, and the type of obstacle, the remedy depends on the type of obstacle that one faces. And therefore here, says one example is about related to the past. It is an attachment to the past is the one that causes a bondage. And classical example is one fellow, a seeker, got attached to a buffalo, and that is preventing him for him to recognize. How does it prevent? Because the mind is always dwelling on the buffalo, about the safety of buffalo, what it's doing, what's not doing, all that, sitting in the seat of meditation and worrying about it. That's a lot of people's problem too, because when we say that any attachment is where my mind runs after something that is not relevant in the present, and therefore it mostly runs to the past or the future, and in the case past attachments causing a problem. So how did he solve the problem? In this case, he had a compassionate teacher who understood the problem and taught him that attachment is wrong, just as Krishna taught Arjuna that he has wrongly attached to Bhishma and Drona, and the body is not Bhishma and Drona. So even when the body drops, they don't die. All the teaching came later because Krishna understood the problem of the attachment because of the delusion. Delusion is taking the plurality, that illusion, as reality. That's called delusion. So the plurality will be still there, but I can operate with the plurality because I'm experiencing it. But at the same time, it's not really real from the point of absolute truth. So I can play the game of life, because life has to be played as long as I am in the stage, but yet do not take life too seriously that it affects even when I go out of the stage also. Then the role will have a problem, but you should not have a problem. That's how one should live, and that's where the attachments come to picture. So the teacher taught him tattvam, the truth about everything, and slowly he gave up the attachment and realized. That's what is called the attachment to the past causes the bondage. Now we'll read 43, is discussing about the attachment in the present. Pratibandho vartamano, pratibandho vartamano, vishayasakti lakshanaha, vishayasakti lakshanaha, prajna mandyam kutarkascha, prajna mandyam kutarkascha, viparyaya duragraha, viparyaya duragraha. So together, pratibandho vartamano, vishayasakti lakshanaha, prajna mandyam kutarkascha, viparyaya duragraha. So here is in the present obstacles, he is subclassifying. There are three types that he mentions here. So vartamana pratibandha, that vartamana in the present tense, the obstacle in the present related to the present case or present tense is that are present. Or vishaya asakti lakshanaha, attachment to the vishayam. Vishayam means all the objects in the world, and this is a major problem for many of us. So vishaya asakti lakshanaha, it is of the nature of the attachments to the things and beings in the present, that are present. And the reason is prajna mandyam, because of dullness in the mind or the intellect of a seeker. What is that? He does not have the viveka. Viveka means discriminative intellect is not there, or not sharp enough to differentiate what's real and what's not real, what has to be concerned and what should not be concerned. Because in the life, things will be happening all the time. That's the nature of the life. That which is born has to die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. So therefore, things will be happening all the time in the present that are favorable, unfavorable, and all that due to prarabdha. And one has to be careful. So if I do not have the sharp or do not have the intellect properly and not able to discriminate, therefore he calls it manda prajna. So mandya prajna, that means a dullness of the mind, or a mind that is not able to discriminate. It's not we're not talking about he may be a great scholar in something else. So here we are talking about mandya prajna, means the dullness is in terms of discriminating what is real and what is not real. Nitya anitya vastu viveka. That requires a subtle intellect rather than the sharp intellect. Sharp intellect is the one that divides. That's called, because it's sharp. So any scientific investigation requires a sharp intellect. Each one you classifies, codifies, this phylum, that class and all that. You differentiate and distinguish each one, and that is what sharp intellect is, to distinguish and differentiate. Subtle, the differences of even smaller differences you differentiate. Whereas the sukshma buddhi, a subtle intellect, is that which integrates and see oneness that pervades the duality, oneness that pervades all the differences. Even though differences are still there, but there is one thing that is pervading, and that is nityam, and that which is separate from anityam. Nitya anitya vastu viveka. That discriminative intellect is not there. It has to be developed. Just as any discipline, the mind has to be developed to sharpen. The intellect has to be sharpened by proper vichara inquiry. Same way, for lack of inquiry, you develop a dull mind. That's one problem. Kutarkaha cha, Kutarka means the wrong logic. So one wants to be logically prove something. How can I be total? How can I am the total? I am different, he is different. He is conscious entity, I am conscious entity. How can there be divisions in the conscious entity? And you hear from the Tarka Shastra. In fact, Tarka Shastra talks about only Dvaita only. So all possibles of Vikalpas and all that are being discussed there. Hair-splitting argument. At the same time, no substantive. So that's called kutarkaha. So don't get involved in unnecessarily arguments that wants to prove Dvaita is better than Advaita and so on. If you are completely understood, then if you required, you explain. Otherwise, there is no reason. So kutarkaha means wrong logic, and people want to get into logic. So it's a waste of time only, and therefore he calls it as a kutarkaha. Viparyaya means essentially the having erroneous understanding of what is right and what is wrong. So the knowledge versus the misconceptions, and that's called viparita jnanam, viparyaya. So these are the three types of obstacles in the present that inhibit a seeker from realization. So that's called pratibandhaha vartamanaha, vishayasakti lakshanaha, prajnamandyam kutarkascha viparyaya duragraha. So how do I get rid of this? So Vidyaranya says in the next sloka, Samadjaihi sravanadjaischa, Samadjaihi sravanadjaischa, tatra tatro chitaikshayam, tatra tatro chitaikshayam, nitismin pratibandhetaha, nitismin pratibandhetaha, swasya brahmatvam asnute, swasya brahmatvam asnute. Together, shamadjai sravanadjaischa, tatra tatro chitaikshayam, nitismin pratibandhestaha, swasya brahmatmamasnuti. So shamadjaihi. So lack of shama, dama, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, and most important is the shraddha, faith in the scriptural statement. Shamadjaihi. That's what the scripture says indeed true. What is true? What you see plurality is not reality. That's what the scripture says. It is only apparently true, so don't get unnecessarily more than required for a playing the life. Just has to be played. At the same time, don't get attached too deeply, that cause a problem. So therefore, shama, dama, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, all are important to develop that kind of mind. So shamadjaihi, Ajay means include all the 6 requirements for realization. Sravanadjaihi. Sravana means listening to the scriptures. So how long I have to listen? You have to listen the lifelong, because this mind wants to dwell unnecessarily in the transactional world. One way to keep that from is constant listening to the scriptures from a competent teacher, or constant studying the scriptures in order to reinforce the mind that this is really the truth and not the other one. So Sravanadhyaihi, Sravana and Manana. Manana means reflecting on the teaching, and Nididhyasanam, contemplating on the teaching, has to be done constantly until the mind settles in it. So therefore there is no pratibandha, so that one can claim. So this should go on until the body drops, because this is the whole purpose of life itself is this. All other things have done enough. Now you have to concentrate very purpose of life, why we are living, and therefore this becomes the most important thing to do is Sravana Adi. Tatra, in the respective obstacles, that Nite having achieved, Ataha swasya brahmatvam asnute. So then, Ataha afterwards, one can abide in the swasva, in my own nature, which is of the nature of the Brahmatvam, Satchidananda Swarupam Ashnute, one attains. So here we are talking about three types of obstacles that are discussed. Then again we emphasize it. Let's look at this, how Swami says. Samadhyahi, the first obstacles of are the Vishaya Asakti Lakshanaha, attachment to the objects and the people. Worldly object is overcome by the Shamadama, etc. And the Prajnamandatvam, that means the dullness of the mind, is overcome by patient and preserving Sravana, Manana, and listening to the scriptures again and again. And Kutarka is wrong logic, or arguing illogically, or listening to the illogical discussions. How do I get rid of it? Concentrate and don't get unnecessarily involvement in the logic, because once you have understood, then abiding in the knowledge is more important than trying to convince somebody else who is not interested in that. So therefore, Kutarka has to be stopped and has to so that the mind has to be redirected in the study of the scriptures. And Viparya means the wrong understanding of the world has to be, student has to again meditate again and again on the nature of the reality, to withdraw the mind from giving the reality to the plurality. That's what is the Viparita Jnanam. So these are the four obstacles that have been identified in the Vartamanam. One is the Vishaya Sakti, the unnecessary attachment to the people and the beings. Prajnamandhyam, the dullness of the mind. Kutarka, the wrong logic. Viparyaya, so contradictory experiences that one sees has to be withdrawn from that mind, has to be dwell on the truth that is expounded in the Vedanta. So that is about the obstacles in the present. So what are the obstacles in the future? So before that, here he gives an example of Vamadeva again. Agami pratibandhascha Vamadeve samiritaha ekena janmanatshino bharatasya trijanmabhihi. Together. Agami pratibandhascha Vamadeve samiritaha ekena janmanatshino bharatasya trijanmabhihi. So agami pratibandha, so the one that is coming in future, you don't know how the obstacle is, that is going to be future, is removed by the future only. So here agami pratibandha cha Vamadevi, as in the case of Vamadeva. So we have in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the story of Vamadeva is given, where Vamadeva was born, even though he had already gained the knowledge in the previous life, and he had a Srotavya, Mantra, everything, and he understood Aham Brahmasmi, yet he was not able to claim Aham Brahmasmi because of some obstacle, some strong obstacle was preventing him to claim. And only way to get rid of that, he has to go through the process of birth. So the birth itself is a prarabdha that he has to experience because it's so strong, and it did not die by having in that life, previous life, all that was not sufficient enough. He has to go through another, the enclosure in the garbham, and he had to go through that. So once he was in the womb and in the sleep itself in the womb of the mother, his prarabdha is gone, and therefore obstacle for his claiming is gone. Therefore he could realize recapitulating the knowledge. How? We don't know. For that, Shastra alone is pramana. So, ekena janmanatshino, in that birth itself he got liberated. That's what Upanishad claims. Therefore, that is a type of pratibandha, obstacle for realization that Vamadeva could get rid of by taking a birth. But at the same time, he was not born out from the womb. In the womb itself, he has realized. Another example is Bharatasya Trijanma Bhihi. In the Jadabharata story, another Upanishad story, it takes 3 lives for him to get rid of that pratibandha. He understood scriptures and he has both the pratyaksha and aparoksha jnanam is there, but not able to claim because he was attached to the deer. That's what the Jadabharata, he was attached to a deer, and therefore he has to be born as a deer and so on and so forth, but with the knowledge of that previous knowledge, and therefore because of that samskara he was able to get out. So but it took 3 lives for him. For Vamadeva it took only 1 life, and how many times it will take for us, we don't know. So therefore the agami pratibandha, the ones that come in future, it will come. So we should not worry about it, about the future. Concentrate in the present is the only solution now. So agami pratibandhasya Vamadeve samiritaha. So that essentially, it's well explained in the Vamadeva, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Ekena janmana, by one life itself, Shrinaha, he has got rid of it. Bharatasya Jadabharataha Trijanma Bhihi, he took three lives. And now question is, how many lives required in order to get rid of that obstacle? He is going to tell. 46 sloka. Yoga brashtasya gitayam, yoga brashtasya gitayam, adite bahu janmani, adite bahu janmani, pradibandhaschaya prokto, pradibandhaschaya prokto, na vicharopya narthakaha, na vicharopya narthakaha. Together. Yoga brashtasya gitayam, adite bahu janmani, pradibandhaschaya prokto, na vicharopya narthakaha. So Gitayam, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked a question to Krishna. The exactly same problem. What's the problem? He called it Ubhaya Brashtaha. The one who has studied Vedanta, has listened Vedanta, and has gone through all that, but still not able to claim that Aham Brahmasmi, not able to realize it. What is going to happen to him? That was the question. And he calls him Ubhaya Brashta because he did not enjoy the life, because he was studying all the time, and at the same time he did not get what he was trying to study, because he has to claim that, and therefore he neither got this nor got that. So Ubhaya, both ways he got lost in both. Therefore, what is going to happen to him? That was Arjuna's question, and Krishna answered, nothing will be wasted. Because once you are in the Vedantic study, you are in the path of evolution. Therefore, Krishna emphasized that none of them, even a swalpam apyasya dharmasya, even a little bit of you are done, that will take you a long way. And that's what Krishna's statement is. And therefore, he says, Yoga brashtasya gitayam atite bahujanmani. It may take more lives, but every life he is going to gain a little bit more, depending upon how much he had learned before. So on that he will build it up. If he has understood everything, then it may be like the Vamadeva or Jadabharata. If it takes long more time, then he will be progressing in that path. Pradibandhaschaya prokto na vicharaha api anarthakaha. So pradibandhachayaha proktaha vichara api. So this type of how many lives it will take, etc. api anarthaka. Even to inquire about it is useless, because we don't know about the future. Who is going to answer how many lives you are going to take in order to realize it. So the best thing is, take this life as though this is my last life, and assume that you have done all that, and in this you do whatever the Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So contemplate on this as though this is going to be your last life, and then leave it to the Ishvara to decide what to be. But having whatever the opportunity that is provided for you in this life, make use of it for contemplation and not to worry about what's going to happen in the future. That's what essentially it says. And how did Krishna answer that is being discussed here. Prapya punyakrutam lokan, Prapya punyakrutam lokan, Atma tattva vicharataha, Atma tattva vicharataha, Suchiram Srimatam Gehe, Suchiram Srimatam Gehe, Sabilasho Vijayate, Sabilasho Vijayate. Together. Prapya punyakrutam lokan, Atma tattva vicharataha, Suchiram Srimatam Gehe, Sabilasho Vijayate. So Atma tattva vicharataha. So by virtue of the inquiring into the Atma Tattvam, into the nature of the reality, Punyakrutam Lokan, and once he didn't gain this, so he goes to the Punya Lokas. So this is because this is the greatest virtue that one can gain. Means study of the Vedanta is the greatest virtue, because Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayam, Durlabham Trayame Vaitatu, Daivanugraha Hetukam. So even to get exposed to this Vedanta itself is due to many lives the pleasure. That's why Krishna says the Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye Yatadadapi Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Vetti Tattvataha. So thousands of people are there, of which very few people are really interested in Vedanta. And those who are interested in very few people of that only pursue further. And those who people pursue further, very people realize. So that who are not realized is not a waste, but it will be useful for the next life. And this, therefore, Atma Tattva Vicharataha Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. He will be born in a Suchinam, in the family which is pure, not in the drunkards and who are going around for sense enjoyments, because he wants an environment conducive for his growth. So he will be born, as per Krishna says, he will be born in an environment conducive for his progress. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, and Sabilasho Bijayate. Sa Abhilashaha, this is Abhijayate. So he will reach in that state, he will gain that knowledge and proceed further. So depending upon the nature of the obstacle in the future, he may take more lives or he may take one life. That depends upon how much the mind has been purified already in that state. And Krishna says, Tatratam buddhi samyogam, Tatratam buddhi samyogam, Labhate paurva dehikam, Labhate paurva dehikam, Yatato chatato bhuyaha, Yatato chatato bhuyaha, Tasmadetaddi durlabham, Tasmadetaddi durlabham. Because Tatra, in that birth where one has been born in a particular environment, Suchinam Srimadam Gehe, one who is mind is born in an environment where the parents and the grandparents and everybody are in that path already. Therefore, they already put the boy also in the path, or they put the new Jiva also in the path. So you will be born in an environment which is essentially having that the Adhyatmika, the knowledge is there. So Tatratam Buddhi Samyogam Labhade. So Tam Paurva Dehikam. So with respect to the earlier lives, Buddhi Samyoga, because knowledge of the self is there, is query. Labhade, he gains because of the previous knowledge, something triggers and therefore the mind goes into the Adhyatma. Tataha cha Bhuyaha, again Yadate, this kind of life this kind of birth, tasmat etat durlabham, this is indeed very difficult. That's what Krishna also says. This kind of birth is born in a conducive environment for your rapid growth is indeed difficult. If you look at the lives of some of the great sages, you can see that previous life, the samskara has been there, therefore they are born in an environment conducive for rapid growth. So Shankara took a sannyasa when he was even 8 years old. So because he is already ready to that, whereas other people took long time. If you look at the story of Hasta Amalaka, the disciple of the Shankara, they thought he was a stupid or a mad person. But he was a jnani, and when the parents brought him to Shankara and said, you take care of him, and when Shankara asked him, who are you? He gave a pure Vedantic sloka, and that's what we study also. That shows that previous samskara was there, some pratibandha was, obstacle was there, and he was born in order to get rid of that. So, what is the solution? Solution is, number one, we do not know what kind of obstacles. Concentrate on the Vedanta, dwell as much as you can, as long as you can, on the Vedantic Sravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. Contemplate on it if mind can dwell on it. If the mind cannot dwell because of some reason, then he is going to give another solution also. With this, we stop here.